Well, y'all, on ESPN, it's a new special honoring Dale Earnhardt, his legend and legacy 20 years after he lost his life to final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500. Talking about that last week. And in case you missed it, it is re-airing tonight. The exact date, 20 years ago, was February 18th. And ESPN senior writer Ryan McGee, who has been covering NASCAR for more than 25 years, is responsible for this E60 special. And we got him on the line right now. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, boys. Long-time listener, first-time caller. This is a big deal for me. So back in the day, when I first started covering NASCAR, I worked on a show called RPM Tonight on ESPN2, right. And I would drive right by y'all's studio and listen to you right on the radio in Charlotte on my way to work. So this is I've come full circle, boys.
Man, well, that's awesome, Ryan. Good to have you here, buddy. And I can't wait to watch this special. Miss it the first time it aired, but we want all our listeners to know it is happening tonight. Now, what time will it be on, and will it be on the ESPN channel, Ryan?
Yeah, it'll be on ESPN, and I believe it's at 9 o'clock, and it's we're really excited about it. You know, it debuted actually at noon, right before the Daytona 500 on Sunday, and then we posted it on ESPN.com, and I said, well, we're going to sit here in the rain for 6 hours. Y'all should probably watch this 2 or 3 times. I'd appreciate it. And it's but we've been working on this for a few months, and you know, guys, it's interesting because we've all been around the sport forever, but you know, it's been 20 years. I mean, the Daytona 500 on Sunday was the 720th Cup race run without Dale Earnhardt.
Wow.
And so the first goal was to educate young people on who he actually was. You know, we kind of ran into this when they did the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, on ESPN back in the spring, and all the young people were like, yeah, but LeBron and Kobe. I'm like, well, bless their hearts. They're kids. They didn't see Michael play. And so I feel that way about Earnhardt, too. You got to educate these young people on why we still make such a big deal out of him 20 years later.
Mm-hmm. Boy, you really do, Ryan. You really do, man. I'm telling you. And do you delve into how Earnhardt's death affected the sport of NASCAR? Well, I'm sure you do, but looking at the safety, all the stuff that has happened safety-wise since we lost Dale.
Yeah, and honestly, that kind of became the focus of the show, and because so it was a year ago when I was at the Daytona 500 for ESPN, and I was standing outside the emergency room. You know, we all thought Ryan Newman was dead.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, obviously, he walked out the door, and on my way home, I called the bosses, and I said, listen, a year from now, because it was the anniversary of Earnhardt's death was the day before Ryan walked out of the hospital. And I called, I said, listen, next year's going to be the 20th anniversary. And to me, you know, the story that's never really been told is, you know, what happened because of Dale's death. And you know, the Hans device already existed, and there were already scientists working on, you know, soft walls to put on racetracks, and there were already better seats. There were all these things existed, but nobody was using them. And you know, everybody was just too tough, and Earnhardt was one of those people. And so after his death, you know, NASCAR went from being reactive, making safety changes, to being proactive. And that's really a lot of what the show is about, which is, you know, Ryan Newman says it. You know, if not for Dale Earnhardt, he wouldn't have survived that crash a year ago. And there's no telling how many drivers. We had so many guys getting killed back then. And you look back on it now, and it just seems crazy. And ultimately, it took the death of Superman for everybody to realize, man, we got to do something. And they've done it, and not a single driver has died in the Truck Series, in the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series since February 18th, 2001. And that's, to me, that's the story.
Wow, that is, you know, never really thought about it like that. That's the truth, man. Wow.
Yeah, it got, and you guys remember, it got depressing. You know, Adam Petty was my friend, and Kenny Irwin Jr. was my friend, and I knew Tony Roper. And it was also, you know, I covered IndyCar, and I knew Greg Moore, and I knew Scott Brayton, and I knew drag racers. I mean, it was just that stretch in the late 90s, and I was right out of college, man, and I was on the road, and I remember calling my wife from the road one night, and I said, I can't do this. You know, Chipper Jones isn't going to die tonight, you know, during the Braves game. So why am I out here covering funerals every week? And unfortunately, it took the sacrifice of Dale Earnhardt to make everybody wake up. But man, I mean, 20 years later, I mean, Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, Ryan Newman, I mean, you just go down the list of the lives that might have been lost if not for the changes made because of Dale's death.
And I'm sure you had an interview with Dale Jr. Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about that before we watch it?
Well, he was amazing, and quite honestly, when we booked the interview with Dale Jr. and I've had a great relationship with Dale. I helped him write his book a couple years ago, and I've always been so thankful for his openness and his honesty. Just about his life as the son of the man, and also, you guys remember that night. I mean, he did an interview with the local TV station in Charlotte to let our fans know we'll be okay. And I just the burden he's carried all these years is just amazing. But the interview with Dale Jr. was so good that we were just going to do like a feature, like one story for ESPN. And after the interview with Dale Jr. was done, my bosses were like, "We're doing an hour."
Wow.
Because he was that good, and so from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, Dale Jr. and Kyle Petty, Mike Helton, and Ryan Newman. I mean, those guys. It's a gift. You guys know this. It's a gift when you do an interview, and when it's over with, you walk away thinking, "Man, that was great." And it doesn't happen very often, and for this show, it happened a lot. So we're very thankful for that.
I remember that. And, Billy, I know we talk about this. When Dale brought Junior into the studio, when our studios were downtown before the syndication, and it said he gave him a book on business. And Dale just didn't hand it to Junior. He made him work on his own cars. He was racing at Myrtle Beach. He just didn't give him the keys to the empire. He had to build up and work on it. And I remember then after that, and it was when Junior was on the show, afterward, he said, "How did I do? Did I do all right?" And we told him, "Man, Junior, you just keep being yourself. You're going to be all right."
Well, he is one of the best ambassadors this sport has ever had because he's such a great guy to talk to. And you ask him a question, he doesn't have a stock answer prepared. He will think about it and answer the question you're really asking.
And, Ryan, I'm sure that's what really came through in your interview with Junior on the special as well, man.
No, that's what it is, and Billy's exactly right. You guys know we've all interviewed so many people over the years, and you can tell, who's just pulling out the stock answer and handing it to you, and who's not. And Dale Jr. sits and thinks about every answer to every question, and he didn't have to do that. He being who he is, and,
right.
When you won that many races and sold that many T-shirts and you're junior and all that stuff, you could mail it in, and he never does. And that's always that's part of what makes him the great man he is. But back in the day, if you'd have told me that backwards ball cap, frosted tips, goatee, Dale Jr. was going to become this stately spokesman, I probably would have doubted it, but if you'd have seen me back in the day, you probably wouldn't have thought that they'd let me do a TV show either.
That's true. Well, this is so cool. Ryan McGee is responsible for the new ESPN E60. So it is on tonight on ESPN. Check your local time. Pretty sure it's 9 p.m. Eastern on that. Watch that. And also, ESPN.com. Ryan, you've written a 4-part series. Is that still up there? I know that's going on right now as well.
Yeah, it's still there, and I've got that pinned on my Twitter account at ESPN McGee, and that's a 4-part. And there's also a link there, too. If you missed the show tonight, there's a link there to watch it on the ESPN app. And I put as the kids call, I put a thread on there with the links to all those stories, and it was something going back through all that stuff and reliving, how tough it was for everybody emotionally. But we all just kind of compartmentalized it and moved on to the next race. And going back through the details of that, it was quite the walk.
That's something. Well, can't wait to see it, Ryan. We appreciate you joining us this morning, buddy. Good work, man, over the years. You keep it going.
Hey, y'all too, and we'll see each other somewhere around Charlotte at some point in Duh.
Yes, sir. Duh to you, Ryan. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, Dale Earnhardt, Legend Legacy, explored in the new ESPN E60 documentary. It happens tonight on ESPN. Good stuff.